Hey everyone, Cody Menz here. I have for you another What's New video for today. Gonna go over some stuff happening in World of Tanks. Also, I'm gonna cover some tanks that aren't released yet, and who knows when they're gonna come out. Maybe the Bond Shop, maybe Homefront, anniversary event, stuff like that. But we'll see. Levi's over here getting some scratches. In any event, though, I'm on the Common Test server, number 2, and last time I was on here for a video, I noted there's still this test store up. This is still kind of rumored to be for the anniversary events that officially kick off somewhat soon, hopefully after 1.9 releases. They already have a anniversary event that you do have to sign up for. I'll go over that in a few minutes here, but this store's still in here, so obviously they're testing something, and most people think it's going to be for an anniversary event. Alright, anyway, before we get to some unreleased tanks, let's start with, say, the news. If you haven't seen already, the Scavenger Hunt begins. It basically started already, April 1st. I kicked things off, here on YouTube, my website, also over on Twitch. So if you're just watching this today on Friday, unfortunately my code doesn't work. However, you can pop over to Irish Dreams over on Twitch, but you'll be able to find him. If you need a specific link, click on this forum link. This whole page explains the event. Today is Sophie, and you can click on the forum and there's a little schedule with everybody on it, or you can pop over to my website and I have a specific article for it as well. Speaking of this anniversary event, if you have not registered yet, you need to register. So you have until the 14th of April, and basically make sure you register and you can get some freebies. You can buy, this is really weird, like golden donut and stuff. Honestly, like, it gives you some stuff, but really just make sure you register and you're good to go. Tank rewards, basically an egg hunt here. There is a kind of secret like Easter egg mission, haha, they got us there. Most people think it's basically setting a tank on fire in some way, shape, or form, and causing like a certain amount of damage to it or something via fire, and that gives you some bonus points. I'm sure someone in the comment section will be like, well, it's exactly this. Well, make sure you type it down there, because I haven't seen like an exact confirmation on what it is. Moving on now, we got ourselves Frontline. That pops back up here April 6th for stage 2. It runs the whole week. You still have up for grabs 3 tier 9 heavies. You only can get 2 for the year if you get all of the tokens from Frontline, and also then all the tokens for Steel Hunter. You can't miss one or else you can't go back. I'm sure everyone's looking at the little dog down here who thinks he's really clever back there trying to mess his bed up. Also, they announced stage 3. That'll start April 27th. So we have a little bit of time until that happens, but a pretty quick turnaround. If you haven't seen it already, NA, EU, Asia has the most available. However, they have a duck camo up in the NA shop. There's some styles. There's a Cold War military Korean style. There's a kitty cat one, and also a dog one. So the styles are pretty nice, and they're pretty unique. The duck one you only can put on the AMX-40, so make sure you understand that. The other ones you can apply to other tanks. Now, there's also other things up in the shop. I think like on the NA server, the KV-2R is up for sale. I think also the Eagle 7, stuff like that. Moving on to some stuff about super tests. They are testing. They added some more changes to super tests, basically for the KV3, KV4, T32, and 103. I went over those last week on the What's New video, but just kind of a refresher that they are going to be buffing and rebalancing basically the IS-4 line, E100 line, and also the T110E5 line. So they're kind of taking it a few tanks at a time, and they're continually kind of adding things in here, and yay, it's gonna happen. Maybe for 2.0, maybe for a patch a little bit further in the year, we'll see. Moving on, they did put on basically what the 1.9 patch. I can't see it here in the client when I get into looking at some stuff here. However, there is some new 3D styles, specifically this one got a flag on top of it, which, believe it or not, they've actually implemented flag physics. It looks a little bit quirky, to be completely honest. I guess we'll see how well it works. It looks a little weird, but this is for the T-34-85 tank. So, you know, people who really like that tank, I guess you got a 3D style coming out for it somewhat soon. Last but not least, you know, changes on the 1.9 test server. You know, it did hit the second version of it. We should have one more version, I believe, and we're not going to see the patch release, I believe, until I think earliest April 21st or 22nd, but I believe it might be, yeah, I think it's the 21st or 22nd, because Frontline is going to be that last week in April, I believe. So yeah, I think it's going to be the 21st, 22nd we might see this patch, so we'll probably get one more update next week, and then they kind of finalize it and push it out, you know, around then. In any event, though, you know, mainly it's just tweaking some other tanks, you know, buffing some tanks, like AMX-40 gets a buff, and the original, you know, patch notes had a ton of stuff for the test server. Alright, so let's get into what I was talking about. Unfortunately, so the tech tree mod, the extended tech tree, isn't working because it doesn't really account for tank collections. However, I added basically some unreleased tanks in the game. I started at tier 9 and I went down to tier 7 that, you know, we might see in the future, we might not. Maybe in the bond shop, maybe special events, you know, home front for, you know, some of these, or, you know, who really knows. They have a crap ton of tanks. Starting out though, like, the tier 10s are the least likely things that we're going to see. And some of these, honestly, you guys might be like, oh my god, well, they released them for this special event or something. Let me know in the comments. You know, some of these, you know, I did remove some. So starting out with the Object 2685, this is actually a turret version of the Object 268, you know, tank destroyer. You know, tanks like this, you know, this is where I'm pretty interested to see. You know, they're coming out with tank collections, you know, 1.9, and simplifying the tech tree. But now they're going to have this part built into basically the game and the tech tree. They already have the bond shop. However, they have tank collections now to where, say, a quirky tank like this, where I'm not going to dive too much into the stats, but you can kind of see the guns, like a typical TD gun, armor, you know, nothing, you know, crazy out of the ordinary and stuff, but it's got a turret on it and it's a Russian TD. I could see them maybe, if they don't want to just flood the bond shop with all these tanks, possibly adding them into tank collections and allowing people to buy them for credits, whether it's a normal amount for tier 10 or not. This is the old, this is the old Object 263B, so basically when it was tier 10, something like this, put it in the bond shop, charge people bonds, or if they want to put it in the tank collections, you know, allow people to buy it for 6 million, 10 million, who knows, credits. When it comes to, I don't think that they should go like World of Warships and do the free XP route, but, you know, I think it could be interesting. Here's the infamous, I keep clicking the wrong thing, I'm used to going through the tech tree. Here's the Waffentrager E100. This is the premium version. There's also a standard version in the game that is kind of left in there for legacy sakes. There's quite a few of those tanks. I just chose the premium version here, but the other version does have a somewhat nerfed gun with lower damage. It's like 490 damage instead of the 560, and it's got lower penetration as well. But kind of moving through things, we'll get to, there's more unique tanks once we get to the tier 9 ones. Here's, so, you know, I'm sure some people are like, this is in the game already. Well, the T95 FV4201 is the chieftain that people can get through Clan Wars. There's actually another version here, the T95 chieftain, that is different from the, you know, one that there's a tier 8 similarly named tank, you know, that's basically a medium tank. This is a slightly different version of the T95 FV4201. So, you know, maybe we'll see this one day. I do know that they still want to bring, so possibly the Chieftain MK6 into the game. They rumored that last year very early on. This is a pretty interesting tank though, the 113BO. I have no idea if this has released anywhere. It's kind of quirky. You know, you got you got like flames, I guess. And then on the back of the tank here, you have musical instruments. It's really, really strange. You know, I don't know where or what this came from, and I have no idea what these things are. They look like mallets or something, or like, I don't even know. But it's just something I was like, what the hell is this thing? I don't know if it came out on like a different server or not. Moving into the tier 9 tanks, so these tanks are the ones that we're most likely to see. So we've got 3 Russian tanks. This one used to be in the tech tree, the SU-122-54, and an American tank. We have a Chinese TD, and we have 2 Swedish tanks. So the Object 752 here, this is a 3-round auto loader. I don't think it's an auto reloader. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's just a standard auto loader. Reward tank, you know, not a full premium tank. And when it comes down to it, they've been rebalancing this quite a bit at the end of last year, but it's got really ridiculous turret armor. It's actually got pretty decent gun depression for a really weird shaped and small shaped turret. But you know, it's kind of an interesting tank. It looks quirky. It's kind of small, especially the turret size. And you know, I guess we'll see, you know, when or if we'll get this. Like the DPM is pretty low because it has that 390 damage, 3-shot auto loader, and the mobility down here isn't the best out there with the specific power. But you know, who knows when we'll see this. So the newest tank somewhat is the K91-2. They already plopped this into the 1.9 test server. You know, this tank definitely looks a little thick with the really circular turret here, but essentially you're getting a mid-mounted turret instead of the rear-mounted turret for the K91. This tank, you know, similar, it looks like gun-wise to some extent, but you know, much lower penetration from the K91 that you see at tier 10. But yeah, it seems like a pretty interesting tank. It's probably not done balancing, but they have all of these tanks where, you know, maybe they'll just release them, which is, here's the old SU-122-54, used to be in the tech tree. I think people would love this if they brought it back for like the Bond shop or adding it to the tank collections. It's going to be interesting to see if they kind of go like I'm guessing, where they add some things in inside of just special events. Here's a really weird, looks like somebody lopped the sides of the turret off. God help those people who had to. I don't even know how the crew setup of this thing would be. It looks really freaking weird. But yeah, like even this tank, it's pretty unique. Like, you know, it's American tank, so 10 degrees of gun depression, solid 400 damage gun, decent pen. But like, yeah, this thing's really quirky. But you know, it seems like they're starting to add in some unique tanks to where they don't have enough events to be able to release them in a timely fashion. You know, we'll see if they do anything else. Now, WZ-120G FT, fairly sure like there's something very close to this already, basically in the tech tree, but there is basically a tier 9 premium version, or I guess, yeah, it does say more credits for each battle, but it could be a reward tank, you know, going down the road. You know, just something a little bit different, but it is very close to the ones in the tech tree. But there's not too much I think they can do about Chinese TDs. There's not a ton of options. Another new tank, the Streb K, basically a Kronwagen hull, and it put what, a Centurion MK10 turret on top of it. So kind of a unique tank. Another, you know, tier 9 that they're kind of spitting out here, somewhat fast and super testing. But this one looks pretty neat. You know, is it the most unique thing in the world? Yeah, not exactly, really. Not really. Where, yeah, but it's still new, you know, new tanks, new content. Moving on, this one's a little bit more unique, the UDES 3-3. Now this tank, as its name implies, based off of the UDES 3, that's a TD in the game already. However, kind of a medium mashup of it with a turret on top. This one seems pretty neat. Like, doesn't have any armor, not really, but I could see this, you know, being a reward tank for something, or a bond shop tank. We're almost done, I think, or no, we might be done to the tier 9s. The 703 200mm, this is a tank that most people know already, but we have the 122mm version. Who knows, maybe they'll do something with the 100mm version. This, you know, it's pretty much balanced. It's not broken, it's not too good, not too bad, and it's closer to the tech tree ones than the premium one. Maybe we'll see it someday get sold. Now, moving to the return of the ISU 152K. So this tank, basically BL10 when it comes to the ISU 152 we have in the game. They removed the BL10. Now they're basically, this one's still in super test from my understanding. Now they're adding in somewhat of a premium bond shop or ward tank, who knows, version of the ISU with the BL10 gun back on it. Didn't really look into how much or how many differences there are when it comes to the stats compared to the standard ISU, because they're still balancing it. But yeah, there's actually two versions of the Awful Panther. This used to be a tank in the tech tree, and basically this thing was pretty fun to play. There's a tier 8 version and a tier 9, or a tier 7, excuse me, version still in the game. Really high specific power, basically really good engine power, speed, decent hit points, and this thing used to be like RAM central for light tanks. It was so fun. Who knows if they're going to bring it back, but you know, because some people, including myself, thought it would be like a personal mission reward. Maybe they'll do it for like the well-deserved reward that they do each year now. Maybe to kind of give people who've been playing the game for a while a nice little reward tank. The T23 here, there's a tier 7 version. You can see though that this is just a placeholder. This one I threw in here just because it, you know, interested me with how it looked. But there is a tier 7 version that's a clan war reward tank. I think it's called like the T23E3. But it was kind of interesting to see. I guess this is Wargaming's placeholder tank model for them when they're originally developing things. This tank I don't think we'll see again in the tier 8 version, but it's still in the client for some reason. I'm not exactly sure why, and just something a little bit different. The tier 7 one though, you could have gotten it through the last Clan War campaign. Now moving down, so this is a newer, somewhat newer one. Hasn't been released from my understanding now, but I could have been wrong. IS-2S, basically a shielded version. Looks like somebody got a little bit happy with a welder and basically welded a bunch of stuff all over it. You know, looks kind of quirky, different, and I'm sure we'll see this. Like I'm thinking some of these, so like tier 7 tanks, and there are some tier 6 ones as well. Like this is less likely, the T4485. There's also another tier 7 T44, but that was kind of for promotional reasons on the Russian server. We might see some of these lower tier premiums maybe through Homefront or like the anniversary event. They have a quirky, you know, gets retired at VK4502 down at tier 7, you know, basically probably closer to like the historical armor scheme. So it's another little interesting one. And also there's a down tiered Tiger 2 here. You know, kind of close to the Captured King Tiger that you can get through Twitch Prime, but a little bit different stat wise, I believe. There's also like I basically maxed out the amount of tanks I could put in here. There's also some tier 6, some tier 5, etc. Tanks. I'm not going to go through all of them. I might do them next week. But basically, I could just keep going on and on. Like the Tiger 217 hasn't been released. There's this weird PZ5 BP A. They're most likely just kind of placeholders. There's this M4A1 FL10. It's a Sherman with a French auto loader turret. There's a down-tiered Black Prince heavy tank at tier 6. There's this A46, a British light tank. So there's quite a few tanks, even, you know, basically down at tier 6. I'm not too much sure about tier 5 though. I don't think we have too much there as far as like new content that might be coming. But you know, who knows with all the events and stuff that they have, what we'll see, you know, how they're going to basically release them, whether they're just through special events or bond shop, collection tanks, anniversary events, stuff like that. But it'll be pretty interesting. thanks for thanks for tuning in today though. Make sure you participate in the scavenger hunt, and I'll see you next week. Have a good one.